name is Monica Wong, and I'm going to be talking about the film Grand Avenue. So here's a quick summary. Molly is a Pomo Indian, and her 3 children, Justine, Alice, and Sheldon, were living on the Lokiah Reservation with Molly's husband, Jack, except when Jack died, they ended up getting kicked off of the reservation. So they had to move to Santa Rosa, where Molly's cousin Anna lives, along with, Anna has a daughter named Jean, who has cancer. And they move into a house on Grand Avenue, which is in a low-income neighborhood, and it is gang-ridden. Molly finds out that her old high school boyfriend, Steven, lives a few doors down the street, and Steven is actually the father of Justine. This becomes a problem when Steven's son, Raymond, and Justine start to like each other because they are actually half siblings. So Steven has to divulge this to them and to his current wife. And the tensions between Steven and Molly get out of control. And in the end, because of a drive-by shooting, Justine actually gets shot and killed, and Molly and Steven end up coming together and reconciling things. So the first thing I want to talk about is a dispute among Native peoples. Let's watch this clip first.
This ain't what your father wanted.
It doesn't matter what our father wanted. You're not like Kaya. You have no rights on this reservation.
My little boy out there is your father's son. He's got your family name. You know that.
Then he can come back up here when he's 18. As for the other 2, they're part Mexican or Filipino or something, ain't they? Don't you even know? Just hurry up and get the hell out.
I took care of Jack today. I think that did for something.
Gotta go.
So the 2 people who are talking to Molly are Jack's other children, and as you can see, they were very hostile towards them, and Molly was definitely not welcome there. This shows how individual tribes have a sense of looking out for themselves only, and not others. There's a similar idea in the podcast, I Know I Am, But Who Are You?, where the Chukchansi tribe, they're disenrolling members in order to have more for the people who remain. It's not exactly the same idea, because they're not exactly disenrolling them because they are part of a different tribe, but it's the same feeling of only wanting to look after yourself. So the next thing is disrespect of native property. The members of the native community, they all got a letter from a real estate company offering $1,000 to buy their burial lands. So here's a town hall where they discussed this issue.
We can't. One at a time we can do this. We have to agree. What are we gonna do? I got a wife, I got kids here. I'm gonna take the money.
You still ain't explained why we gotta give up the money.
Yeah, some of us need that money, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's this Baxter and Company that's making the real money, right? Now, you like the idea of selling your people's bones?
They said they were willing to move them, didn't they?
That's right.
It's not about moving them.
Nobody can touch them bones. It ain't right.
It's a very old rule, you know.
Yeah, that's hooey.
It's not really.
The cemetery is the only thing left that's ours. Does that matter to anybody?
Yeah, the first time anybody's willing to pay us for what they're taking.
Sure is.
Me and Nellie and my boy, we've been up there working, trying to make things better. You know, you might want to come up and look and see what we've done before you make up your mind.
What do you care anyway? You're the one with the big house and the good life.
So the person sitting up front is Stephen, and him along with Nellie, who's a medicine woman, and Raymond, they have been trying to make the cemetery more legitimate by putting up name crosses with names on it, so that the people could see the names and maybe feel more that it shouldn't be disturbed. This clip shows a conflict between survival and need, or the financial struggle, versus the preservation of their tradition. A lot of the people who were opposed or were opposed to maintaining the cemetery, they all wanted that $1,000 that the company is offering. I mean, $1,000, that's a lot, and they all really need that. And one lady mentioned that it seems that Stephen doesn't understand that perspective because of his having a big house and a stable job and a good life, but he is really just trying to preserve their tradition. As Nellie was saying, it's not, to them, it's not right to move the bones, but a lot of people in the community seem to have moved on from from caring about that tradition. So there's a few instances where we can see native rituals in this movie. One is a ritual for Jack when he dies. Another one is Jean's grandfather burning an angelica root. And Nellie also performs a ritual for Jean. And one of the stereotypes that they show is that the neighborhood kids are scared of Nellie because they think that she is a witch. So this kind of displays the common misunderstanding surrounding medicine men and women and shamans and what they do. So here's a clip of Nellie telling Alice about baskets.
Nobody wants to leave anymore. Nobody's got the patience. In the old days, we done everything with baskets. Cook, pack food. Some had power. My baskets has power. They go with my songs.
How do you start?
It's hard, even for me sometimes.
So I like this clip because Nellie not only talks about the the magical powers and the spirituality of the baskets, but that they are also useful. And this plays into the concept that we talked about before of use value, how these items are not only for aesthetic purposes, but they also were used in Native people's everyday lives. So Jean has cancer, as I mentioned before, and so she's been going through chemotherapy and has been feeling very sick. So on a especially bad day, Jean's grandfather brings her to Nellie, and Nellie performs this ritual, and Alice happens to be there. So let's watch this clip.
¿Qué mandaste de yata, be?
Marco. Marco.
You got her song in your heart. Called her Paris.
So the only thing that I was concerned about in this clip was how realistic it is, because Alice doesn't speak any Native American language. I'm pretty sure her mom doesn't speak like in Pomo to her. but Nellie was not chanting the same thing that Alice was chanting. Alice kind of it just came out of her, and then Nellie followed her in chanting that. So I'm not sure how realistic that is. But this clip shows that they still use their own ways of healing, even in with discovery or newer modern treatments. They still are persisting in their own ways of healing, which I was glad to see. This is a clip of Nellie and Alice talking after Justine has died and they've had her funeral.
How come it worked for her and not for me? You said that basket would help us.
It ain't a perfect world. It ain't heaven. It's earth. Things gonna happen. Accidents, cancer, pain. It's gonna happen. Sometimes we can help it with the spirit. Sometimes not. Maybe spirit's got an idea. Spirit's got a plan. Sometimes that plan ain't the way we think about it. It ain't just the way we want it. That's the first test of faith.
So I kind of saw this clip in two ways. Or the first way is that it's sort of normalizing it. You know, whether you believe in God or Buddha, or for Native Americans, different spirits, it's the way they're talking about it just still sounds like any other faith, and it's not like bizarre or anything. But also, it sounded a lot like Christianity in the way she was talking about how the plan that spirits have. It sounds like God's plan, and she said this was the first test of faith that well, I don't know much about Christianity, but I feel like I've heard that phrase before in tandem with Christianity, so I'm not sure if it's if this is, or it seems like it's normalizing it, but also it could be conforming it to sound like Christianity, which is something that we already know. So the film also showed their financial struggles. Besides the community members saying that they needed the $1,000 from the offer to buy of the purchasing of the burial lands, there's also a couple of cases like that they showed of Molly and her family, or one is Alice and the other kids at the store, and Alice has counted the money out very meticulously, and Justine wants to buy flowers for their mom, but Alice says that she already calculated everything exactly and that they wouldn't have the budget for that. And this also affects their diet. There's a couple scenes. One scene you can see them eating fry bread, and another scene they're just having fast food for dinner. Molly also has an alcohol abuse problem. So let's watch this clip from after her first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
You're an Indian. We don't like talk like that about our lives. Hard enough even with each other. Yeah. I spotted you the moment you got in here. Indian, I said. You from around here?
So the man that she's talking to is Sherman, and Sherman mentions that it's hard for Indians to talk about issues, even among themselves. This seems like a similar sentiment which I read in the Sapiens article about the diabetes dilemma, where women had diabetes but didn't feel like they should talk about it, didn't feel like it was necessary to talk about it, or they just didn't know how to talk about it. So I feel like that this is a big issue in the Native community of not knowing how to address certain problems with drugs or disease. So this movie was set in 1996, but now currently things are getting better. One other moment was when Molly was harassed by a man at a bar, so let's watch this clip.
I better get going. My kids are gonna worry.
Okay.
Oh.
Bueno. Señora Molly. Adios.
What the hell?
You're a good lady.
Yeah.
Thank you, huh? Thank you very much.
Hey, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, it's you're thinking about my...
Son of a bitch!
I ain't thinking about my wife.
Get the fuck away from me.
You're stupid, huh? Fucking Indian boy. Fuck you! Fuck you!
So in the clip, this Mexican man calls her an Indian whore. This kind of derogatory language kind of shows the view, a very negative view that Native American women can be easily taken advantage of. This is not the biggest encounter, but it still acknowledges the issue. So my overall review of the movie, I feel like it was a pretty accurate portrayal of Native peoples. It shows them living their lives in modern society with everyone else, and they share certain struggles that people in low-income neighborhoods have, and they also have their unique struggles, and I feel like all of that was displayed very well. And it shows that Native people are still practicing their beliefs and rituals even in modern times. So the view that they are extinct is very much not true. And yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I cried a few times. It was very enjoyable, and I recommend that you all watch it too. So thank you for listening to my presentation.